here's a quote from your article. You said it was about advice. And I know so many people in the startup world are looking for advice. And in particular, I think in education, because if you're not from the world of education, but you want to build a startup in education, there's all these unknowns and mysteries or kind of things that you don't know about until you experience. Anyway, your quote was, "The value in advice, even negative advice, is to make you stop and think. If you find yourself saying they are wrong and they don't understand the context of your product, then maybe you are wrong." So I thought that was really cool, just kind of about self-awareness and maybe even your ego. So I'm wondering, in the kind of the life cycle of your company, if you've ever had any of those experiences where you basically had an assumption or a belief about either the product or the marketing or how to operate that you had to kind of question and then change your mind about.
Yeah. I mean, I think any entrepreneur that's been at it for long enough would tell you, like, absolutely, there's so many things I've been wrong about. And luckily, I think it seems like we have no shortage of people at Swing that want to tell me when I'm wrong, which is a good thing. And maybe in particular, my two co-founders, we all like to be right for sure. The things that stick out to me, I would say, were, and like, I think they stick out because I was probably a little bit more adamant about like continuing down this, what ended up being a wrong path in the face of, like, call it criticism or disagreement from my co-founders. And the two things that stick out were, one, I think originally we had thought like we'd build all this software first, get the software kind of out there to help districts manage their substitute teacher pools. And then we would like use that as the original kind of demand side of this marketplace. So the goal was always to build kind of more of a marketplace where you would have substitute teachers and schools. But we thought that the better way to kind of jumpstart things would be to get software out there, and then you'd have demand kind of built in. And, we spent like an entire summer and then some, like before the summer, talking to potential customers, school districts, charter schools, private schools, about basically taking our software for free and using it to manage their substitute teacher pools. And we would say, like, you can use the software for free. You're already paying for software. You can just stop using that. How great is that? And everyone was like, that's okay. Like, they would kind of say, like, it might be better than what we're doing now, and it would be cheaper, but like, it's just not like one of our top 3 problems, say. Like, it's just not like the problem that like people complain about isn't really the software to manage the substitute teacher pool per se. It's really about like, we just don't have enough. Like, if you have an 80% fill rate, 1 in 5 times that you're asking for a substitute teacher, you're not getting one. And 80% sounds good, but 1 in 5 missing subs does not sound good. And so, and the whole time, like through this 3-4 month period or whatever it was, I had my co-founder Asha kind of being like, don't you think we should just recruit some substitute teachers, like, to be a part of our swing pool? And, eventually I was kind of like, I think I like remember kind of this moment, and it's not so vivid, but I definitely have this feeling of like, we were leaving a customer meeting and having myself just kind of be like, yep, I think now's the time. You're right, Asha. Like, I probably should have realized that 2.5 months ago, maybe longer. And so there's that. And the other one I would say is like a similar kind of pricing thing is we originally sort of started by having the pricing be what we call budget neutral to school districts. Like, let us deal with whatever the ramifications might be with substitute teachers, like eating the cost. And it turns out school districts didn't like that. And substitute teachers definitely would not have liked that. Although at the time we basically just weren't operating that way. And so eventually what we found is that by charging the school districts and not charging the substitute teachers, it was actually like better for everybody. The school districts actually felt better about it. It aligned better with how they wanted to operate. They didn't really have a problem with the additional fees. And so again, like, it's just like, even from a school district operator standpoint, that was something that I had to learn about, kind of the cultural values of school districts.
Mm-hmm. So, yes, and that just kind of helped refine more or less your offer, I guess, to districts. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it helped us like communicate so much better with them and understand where, not just where their pain points really were, but also like how they wanted to address them. And I think it really paid off in terms of like, oh, like you really got to listen to people, even if, and it's such a fine line and like balancing act between sort of this like attitude of be the change you want to be, you know, you want to see in the world, versus like, oh, like you still have to, especially in education, probably work within the confines of really an industry that's pretty slow to change.
Mhm.